Welcome to the Boss Mode Podcast, where we discuss AI and the future of work. Welcome back to the Boss Mode Podcast. I'm David Lee, and I'm here together with...
Good old D. Double D, that is me.
Double D, happy to sit down together with you. Hey, so lots going on in AI. Of course, we're going to have to talk about Block and the layoffs and what that means. I also want to talk a little bit about did I touch upon this already? What I think of as the levels of like AI expertise. Are you a chatbot guy or are you a recursive agentic swarm guy and everything in between? But first, my man, D, you are in Claude Code and you said something just before we hit the go live button that I thought was insightful. And a lot of people who aren't into Claude Code just yet and maybe are just thinking of getting into it, what you said is very important for those would-be Claude Code users, builders, to wrap their heads around.
Yeah, the if you have if you have an engineer in a box to vibe code with, or if you have like several, because you spun up several, really the skill set that you require to be able to orchestrate all of these and get it to a place where you get something that you want out of it is to be a product manager, right? That's traditionally and classically the role that a lot of software firms would have within their teams, where that is the person who briefs, who's able to kind of speak the language of the suits or the market or what the users want, and then be able to translate that to a bunch of devs to then be able to build that thing. So that's what I've been doing for most of the past few days, actually, just kind of figuring out how to be a better product manager, just because I found myself in these builds where I'm building as I go, just strictly based off of vibes, but without the product manager discipline, because I don't come from that world. I find myself building halfway and either painting myself into a corner or having to step things back because I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. Crap, actually, what do I mean? Like, what is the outcome that I want? As opposed to, just going in there and vibing and saying like, build this one module, build that one other module. Wait a second, build that third module, but now the first module is kind of crap, and I'm just running in circles, right? And it burns.
And then maybe
tokens,
they're all written in different
time.
languages,
right? Or just like,
and maybe some of them are deployed to Google Cloud, and some of them are deployed to.
God, they don't even really even talk to one another.
If I may, and I'm by no means an expert vibe coder. Like both of us run companies. Both of us have employees. We've managed teams of varying sizes, and yet we spend time building. And so I would say that if you are a business owner, heck, if you run a plumbing business, if you run a basketball training academy, if you run a private tutoring business, if you run a dog walking business, all of the above, I believe you should be touching Claude Code. I believe that it can be impactful for your business. And certainly if you're running a software business, you're running a digital marketing agency, you're running a space mining business, all of the above, I believe that Claude Code can be highly consequential to your business for you as an individual founder. Now, the way that I use it to grapple with some of the problems that you described, how can you be an effective product manager? How can you PM your way to building a product where the engineers aren't humans, they are AI? It's Claude Code. And my approach has been to spend a lot of time just free form discussing what I'm trying to build. And I do that initially inside of the chatbot interface. So I go to Claude.ai, I go to Gemini, I go to Grok, I'll switch in between them. I'll paste over the documents that are generated and ask for provocative questions. I'd ask for an adversarial viewpoint. So I'll spend a lot of time, not in any particular format, just talking. Just like if you have a co-founder, two guys sitting in a room together, you talk.
When it comes to
you share your crazy ideas.
When it comes to David, any preference with those three that you just listed? Grok, Gemini, Claude?
Claude. I think that, well, for different reasons, conditional. So here's the nuance. If I need market research, like real time, up to date, like sentiment, like what's happening in the market, Grok is really useful because X is just a gold mine of data. And Reddit is also, like in many ways, it's a cesspool where you've got these basement dwellers that are just like whining about the world. It's like everything out of their mouths is like hate.
Hey, that's the market.
Or
That's the
so
market.
so there's like the basement dwellers are useful because they're a little unfiltered.
Yeah.
So unapologetically, Reddit users, I think that it's there. But there are lots of very helpful uses. I'm only 70% joking, 75, 80, 92% joking.
It's quiet. It's just quiet.
There
70, 80, 90.
There's also really good content on Reddit, like a lot of very useful how-to guides, reviews. That stuff is there as well. But yeah, the basement dwellers are definitely there. So I would say that X is useful for that. And where I need a pulse check on the market, so I'll go to Grok because it has that X access that is unique to Grok. Where I want it to think like a human, the closest foundational model that approximates the way that people think and the way that people write, the way that people communicate, I get that out of Claude more than any other foundational model. Where I want somebody that is very expansively intelligent, broadly capable, somebody like, if I want Sundar,
Sure.
I'll go to Gemini. And in many cases,
Right.
I do want Sundar. So those are the three different places that I'd go to.
Okay.
I think that they serve very important purposes.
Okay.
I don't touch ChatGPT these days. I haven't in a very long time. I went back for a couple of weeks to do a pulse check, but yeah, I don't touch. I don't understand people that continue to use ChatGPT as their.
I think yeah, ChatGPT is the gateway drug, right? Like I guess that's the thing. Okay, so all right, got to lay of the land in terms of preference, but it sounds like Claude is your go-to. That's your broadly chatting with it
I
first.
tried forcing myself to Gemini only for a while, but I came back to Claude for those reasons.
Okay, and then what happens after you do the chatting with?
Right. So it's just, I think of it as co-founders in a room just talking, and that's how I handle those conversations. And then it gives some shape to a project. And then what I do is I just take summaries from each of those chats, and I ask it to build a project overview, like a comprehensive project overview document. Then now I've got a structured project overview document. Then what I do is I take that project overview document, and then I ask it to generate a specification, a technical specification. And I ask it to do that in phases. And the phases that I ask it to build in, that I ask it to generate, are phases that are kind of discrete blocks, like chunks. So one might be like foundational, or like there might be multiple foundational blocks. So I ask it to develop in blocks. And there might be blocks that stack on top. And then, and as a part of building building the spec in blocks, I ask it to do it in a way that each phase or each block is sized appropriately for the context window of Claude Opus, because that way you can share the prompt and then just start building. And this is like a really rudimentary approach, right? But then the next thing I'll do is, and as a part of the spec that's built out this way, I'll then ask it to create, I conflated two things. Going back a little bit into the spec, so I'll ask it to generate the technical specification, and then I'll ask it to build a build guide. And the build guide is those phases, the blocks that are sized to the context window. I'll ask it to let me know which phases or blocks I can do concurrently, because I can just hit Command T and open additional tabs in terminal, fire up Claude Code, and then start building each of those blocks concurrently. So I might have 3, 4, at the most 5 concurrent tabs that are running at the same time. And then what I'll do after that is I'll ask, as a part of the build guide, actually, I'll ask it to generate a prompt for each of those blocks that appropriately references the documents it needs access to. For example, spec.md and buildguide.md. So in that way, I can just start hitting the /clear command to give it a fresh context window, and then drop in the prompt for that block. and I know that it's coherent to the overall plan. And of course, I'll also ask it to think critically about the spec. I'll ask it to think critically about the build guide. I'll ask it to, so all this requires multiple iterations within
Yes.
each of the documents being generated. And then as I build, I'll ask it to think critically about its own work from a few different perspectives. And I'll ask to think critically about the revisions it's made. And again, think critically about the revisions you made again, and so on and so forth. And eventually I'll get to a functioning product, fingers crossed.
Nice.
That's the last thing, fingers crossed. Throw up a prayer to the black box gods of the infinite large language models.
Yeah.
So there you have it, folks. That's David Lee's rudimentary kind of broad strokes approach to vibe coding.
I love that. I love that because we are at the stage now where the tools are abundant and for the most part very affordable, or if not free. I'm gonna share a few tabs here because boy, it's been my ex has just been blowing up with just all kinds of like just cool stuff. So let me just pull this out. It really seems like 2026 is the age of agents in a lot of ways. So first one, earlier this month, anyone that does mobile apps would be familiar with Xcode. So Xcode now has external agents directly inside. So building a mobile app directly inside of Xcode, native for iOS apps.
Fantastic.
Nuts. Rork has been doing the rounds and making some noise on X because what people have done is essentially just build iOS apps like crazy using this one platform. And, you know, the stuff on X is like, ooh, Apple's probably going to buy this, which is why this timing is very funny. But if you go on X and you just search for Rork, you can see people just building like Doom games for their Apple Watch or just all kinds of crazy stuff, right?
And
AR
this is like
apps.
it's lovable specifically for mobile apps. So
Oh,
they
yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
templates,
Right.
workflows, like a highly opinionated approach to building an app for the iOS App Store. Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it was
absolutely.
inevitable.
Right.
And I imagine Lovable is also doing something similar within the Lovable platform, but it sounds like Rork was just laser focused on iOS
Yeah,
App Store, which makes a lot of
exactly.
sense.
It's the persona play, right? You can go extremely broad like a replit and be like, build anything you want, or
Which
you can
ended up normally being a web app.
Right. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And this one is the persona play to go, hey, we're gonna double down. We know who we're selling to. The back of it would pretty much be the same. You can even see the Claude button here, but they're going after specifically that audience. If you want to build consumer apps, here you go. Right.
Oh,
If you
that
want
is
to build
super cool.
iOS apps,
I've got a
here
few people that I want to show this to. Thanks for putting me onto this. This is the first
yeah.
I've heard of Rork. I've been living under a rock, apparently.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know something's going nuts because I don't spend a lot of time on social media at all. Like, so every time I open up my
Says the
app,
social media marketing expert.
right, exactly. I don't consume. I do a lot of produce in that realm. I definitely produce more than I consume.
You are a net creator, not a net consumer.
Right, in that realm.
That is the
Absolutely.
recipe for happiness, I believe.
Hopefully. But every time I open up for the past like week or so, every time I open up my X, within the first 3 scrolls, it'd be someone talking about Rork. And then we've got Google dropping Pamele, which is just Nano Banana Pro in a very simple format so that it doesn't seem as intimidating for, I guess, business owners or people that want to create visuals.
Yeah, it looks like it's designed for millennial business owners, small business owners. Just looking at the
Right.
design language.
Yeah, or like what I call affectionately the tech tards. And then you've got Nano Banana Pro that very recently dropped as well. This page just came up just then. But Nano Banana 2 now out as well. And it just some of this stuff is just nuts. So right before our eyes we can see, look at this graphic. This is this is kind of crazy.
Imagine a student that is learning about the way that water cycles through various states in like the ecology, the way that the science of water, to be able to visualize like this in a way that resonates with the kid.
Totally.
That
And then,
makes
if you can
sense.
like make it like move, or like you can zoom into a certain portion when you're talking.
And to be able to ask questions here, to be able to then circle this and say, hey, now I see it visually, so I get it. To imagine having every single complex concept known to humanity to be able to instantly generate a visualization, an animated visualization, and then to be able to interrogate that animated visualization.
And
education is going to be massively accelerated. K through 12 education and even college education is going to be tremendously disrupted by what you're showing right now and beyond.
Yeah. So, just wanted to share this because we talk a lot about this on our program, which is just like where certain functions or where certain job, like right in front of our eyes, it's just getting eaten up. Right. Which is, and I say this all the time. I use the gym as my barometer of the layperson, where the layperson's at. And no kidding, this week, one of the personal trainers at the gym also happens to own an app, just a community-based, in-person social media type of a thing that he's trying to get off. He's been trying to get off the ground. And
have you been
no lie, he came up to me and said, this was shocking. Do you know any web developers that are good? And I go,
well, yeah.
Holy smokes.
His name's Claude.
I was going to be like, facetiously, I was going to be like, how much are you going to pay this guy? Because I might know one or two. He genuinely was still going to look to pay for, like a web development shop or something to refresh his website and do all that type of stuff. It's it was very sobering. It was very, very sobering.
Yeah.
I think because we end up, because of the jobs that we have, we end up in these echo chambers where we think that everyone's jumping on top of it. Like literally the 7 billion people that are on the planet are jumping on these things. But I really think that it's we're very much at the precipice of early adopter and the kind of mass adoption. We're at that type of a spot right now, because there is still a bit of an on-ramp, I think, to not everyone knows the acronym PRD when it comes to actually writing up, some type of a spec for devs to actually build. Some of them don't even know what they want to build. A lot of them definitely don't know how to drive traffic. But it's tools are here. Absolutely here.
Yeah.
Here and affordable.
Here, affordable and accessible. It's not gated behind tuition at college for $100,000 a year. It's like, if you are paying, you're paying dozens of dollars, hundreds of dollars at the most, and you get access to some phenomenal expertise. And a lot of it is just there. You could ask a foundational model to teach you a lot of it, or double down on material that you've learned from these micro-sized courses. I think that a lot of this, like you've got some of the prestige schools that are putting out AI training courses, 12 weeks for thousands of dollars, 4 weeks, thousands of dollars. I don't know that you need to go that far, because I think to create the curricula in a structured and a kind of prestige school level, like at that caliber, it takes time and iteration. And by the time it's ready, it's already outdated. And so I think it's necessary to get involved in the muck where information is flowing very, very quickly, like X, and start you can get you could get into this terrible version of the algorithm. I get that. Same thing on Instagram, same thing on X. Maybe it gets even worse on X. Sure, I get that. But I would argue that if you're deliberate about shaping your algorithm, you can absolutely influence it by actively searching for things that you want your algorithm to show, and by watching, consuming, and interacting with content that is healthy for you. So social media doesn't need to be the brain rot experience that it is. It should be, it really is a reflection of self in many ways. So if I'm gravitating towards brain rot as an individual, guess what? Social media is going to give you that, because the algorithm, they're viciously capable of serving up an infinite amount of brain rot to you. But likewise, the inverse is true. If you're deliberate about curating your feed to show you high quality, deeply useful educational content in a particular domain, it'll absolutely give you that as well.
Yeah, totally. Or just like set up a proxy phone for like China TikTok, where apparently it's all like zero brain rot, like completely government controlled. No brain rot for you. All you're learning is just learn to be a productive Chinese citizen.
Yeah, no freedom to, uh, and then
Exactly.
that's the thing. Like, we talk a lot about the importance of freedom, and what was it? I read something, Adler, understanding humans, or something like that. There was a passage that stuck out for me, and I'm gonna probably get this. I'm gonna botch this, but paraphrasing, I think that it said that there can be no giants born from lack of freedom. Um, if you lose that ability to make your own choice, it doesn't lead to good places. And
Mm,
I'm viciously botching this paraphrasing that I'm doing, but directionally, I think that's the idea. I think the exception, though, is that there are some really bad things for us that, sometimes it's better to have those freedoms to do those terrible things taken away from us. Murder, the freedom to murder people, that's not okay, right? So we have that freedom taken away from us. The use of hard drugs, the rampant use of hard drugs, while there might be pockets of exceptions here and there, I think that generally speaking, it's healthy to have laws against the use of, and Singapore is where
oh yeah.
where you're from, has very strict
Yeah.
loss of freedom related to the use of hard drugs, or any drugs, and any illegal drugs, really.
Oh,
It's
no,
the death
totally.
penalty, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So
They'll fuck
I
around
think
and
that
find
might be
out.
a bit harsh, but although earlier on, in our series, I talked a little bit about the Sacklers, but anyhow, I digress. Let's bring it back to AI. I want to talk about Block. Block is, a lot of folks might not know the name Block. Block is a company run by Jack Dorsey, who is the guy that created Twitter, or one of the guys that created Twitter. And he's, I think, probably one of the top two or three kind of wise men of Silicon Valley. An individual who, there are rumors that he's the guy behind Bitcoin. There are rumors that he is Satoshi, that Satoshi. We have Satoshi at Vanka. I can say with a certain amount of confidence that Vanka Satoshi is not Bitcoin Satoshi.
Sure.
So I think Jack Dorsey, he's remarkable for his thoughtfulness. He thinks deeply, and he's built some phenomenal companies. He's built some phenomenal technologies. Block is formerly known as Square, so a lot of folks might know it as Square. It does payment processing at the point of sale. They've been around for a long time now, and they also run Tidal, I think, the music service, and they also run Afterpay, which is, they split up payments to make it easier for some people to pay over time, and in some cases with high interest. So this is a company with thousands of employees, I want to say. Here, let me try to pull this up.
Like, yeah, a few thousand. I think like 8,000 employees or 10,000, something
It
like
looks
that.
like 10,000
Mm.
employees. Block cut its staff by 40%, laying off more than 4,000 people and reducing the workforce from 10,000 to just under 6,000. And Dorsey's reason for this is intelligence tools. After these layoffs were announced, so he's effectively saying that intelligence tools have changed what it means. So okay, I'll quote him: "Intelligence tools have changed what it means to build and run a company. A significantly smaller team using the tools we're building can do more and do better. They can do it better." So after these layoffs were announced, their stock surged more than 24%. And this is not a company that is in some existential crisis, that is kind of red alert, five alarm. It is a healthy company that is doing well, and yet they downsized substantially, citing AI tools as the reason they need fewer people.
Yeah. Uh, that that also kind of made the news on X as well. Because because it's Jack Dorsey, but it's happening, man. I really actually, I wonder, let's see the news here. Because I read the headline, but I did not read, let's see. I wonder what jobs are getting, whether there's any detail around what jobs are getting laid off. For years, I've debated whether AI would make a dent in the job market. No, can't find any. I'm just reading an article from The Guardian here.
So what's been reported, blocks cuts are targeting management layers, go-to-market teams, and overlapping product functions. So these are the classic support layer roles.
The management layer too. That's fascinating. Which I
Well,
guess makes
I
sense
had
because the managers of those functions. Yeah.
Yeah, I had Jara Houston, founder of Workwhile. They're a Khosla-backed startup. Jara was here on this show as a guest, and Jara said something that a lot of folks in tech, or a lot of founders, are a little bit uncomfortable with. But she noted that AI is coming for the CEO suite. AI is coming for the C-suite. So I do, and Sam Altman, who on many issues I disagree with, but here's one that I agree strongly with him on. Like at some point, AI will be an effective CEO of companies. And what does that mean? Like in Korea, often what founders will do when their companies get very large and they still have like full voting control of the company or substantial control over the company through their shares, they'll still hire a CEO. And they'll move to the role of chairman or some role behind the scenes, and they'll exercise control in a different way. There's a specific term for it's 바지 사장, or it's like the CEO's pants. It's the person that it's like the person who wears the guy's shoes, the person who wears that guy's pants. It's putting on the big boy pants, but are you the big boy is the question. So I think that when we say that AI is coming for the C-suite, what I believe the extension of that is, even in very, very large companies, is that a lot of the work that a CEO does is going to be offloaded to AI. And simply the act of owning. So it's the ownership experience. It's the levers as an owner that you would begin pulling. And you don't have to bore yourself or suffer the minutia of day-to-day operation is what I think is unspoken and yet implied by folks like Sam Altman. And I'd actually welcome reopening the conversation with Jara about this. So I won't put words in her mouth. But in general, I think that when people talk about the CEO and the C-suite being replaced by AI, I think it's about those people moving into ownership roles as opposed to day-to-day executive roles.
Yeah, for sure.
How nice would it be if you could step back from being the CEO of Right Hook Digital and just have AI run it all for you, and you could still experience the tangible benefits of ownership,
The
lucrative benefits of ownership?
Because remember that statement that Dario from Anthropic made a while ago, where he said that he firmly believes that like a one-person billion-dollar company.
Oh yeah, and
Is
then Mark Cuban tripled down on that and said, or next down on that,
yeah.
and said one-person trillionaire.
Right.
This
Right.
gaming of social media attention.
Sure, the soundbite thing.
I hate it. I shouldn't shout too loud. There are folks working
That's
around me.
hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, I firmly, I truly think that I see it more and more so now. I genuinely see it more and more so. Looking at Moltbook and how these agents are talking to one another, hearing about news that a third of Airbnb's customer support are no human intervention handled now by agents, genuinely. And now with me.
No, I think, though, that those experiences are, and this is, in my view, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but this is terrible that folks are offloading human work to what I believe is as yet incompetent agentic AI. Because these customer support conversations, when they're offloaded, my own experiences, heck, Valentine's Day flowers. I had an atrocious experience with Valentine's Day flowers. I'm not going to call out the particular company. Like I was promised delivery on the day before Valentine's Day, and it ended up getting separated into two packages. One arrived 3 days after Valentine's Day.
One with the flowers,
Another
and one with the petals, and one with the stalk.
Today is February 27th, and they still have not delivered it to me. Their hallucinatory AI keeps telling me that it's okay, it will still arrive by Valentine's Day. What it's now thinking, I think, is that it will arrive by Valentine's Day next year.
That circles back really nicely to the whole PM thing, right? Like it's such a simple fix, and what I mean by that is just to be able to escalate up to a place where a human, right? Just as simple as that. To go, if this thing is stuck and there are certain keywords that you're noticing the customer putting in there, escalate up to a human.
Is that really enough, though? Is that enough, though? Because I would also argue that there are a lot of incompetent humans.
I mean,
like
sure.
They may be highly competent in a different realm, but heck, a lot of these human customer support experiences, especially when, and this isn't about any particular country being bad or good or competent, not competent, generally speaking, but when it comes to the specific function of customer support for a particular company selling to customers in, let's say, the United States, for example, if you're offshoring to a country where people are earning probably 50 times less or 20 times, 10 times less even on a purchasing, even on a PPP basis, on a purchasing parity basis, wrong acronym, purchasing parity basis. These guys, they don't have and again, they might have general competence, but they don't have the specific competence. In other words, they are specifically incompetent to provide customer support to a customer here in the United States that is just living a completely different life, breathing different air, different cultural inputs, slightly different values. All of this leads to this break in the experience that businesses just need to do a better job of. And this is where I believe agentic AI, the promise of it is there. They should absolutely, yes. What was the company you said? Airbnb?
Airbnb.
The idea of using AI for better customer support makes sense, but precision retrieval again is, that's my drumbeat. Precision retrieval for agentic AI. If you don't have that, you have incompetent agentic AI.
Yeah, it's just it's just really fascinating when companies that have huge, I would imagine a company like Airbnb would have a huge amount of customer support tickets. Absolute, tsunami worth of it here. So AI powered customer support is in there, a significant reduction in resolution time, and they expect to roll it out even more. I guess, this was just that early initial test to make sure that it doesn't just blow up in everyone's faces. But hey, that's jobs right there, right? I don't know where they're hiring their current customer
Hundreds
support
of people.
Right.
Probably hundreds of contract employees, so it does not show up in these giant layoff announcements. So that's happening. Now, going back to what we talked about last week, where I think it was David Sachs on the All In podcast talking about how the numbers just don't bear out to support the idea that AI has resulted or is currently resulting in kind of widespread layoffs or net job loss. Factually, at the macro level, correct. But I do believe that we have a responsibility to look forward, and there are very clear forward-looking indicators that demonstrate that, yes, there will be agentic AI implementations, and they will lead to people losing their jobs. And the corollary is where my head goes after contemplating the massive number of job loss that I think will occur is I think it's bittersweet. I think it is healthy in many ways because I heard this story about how, and I've got some friends and colleagues who are Japanese, so correct me, folks, if I'm wrong. But the story that there are some people in Japanese companies that do not have a day-to-day function. So they don't give them work, but they just show up to the office. They're older, they're nearing retirement age, but they still show up even though they're not given work and they're not laid off. They're just there. Because of one, it's very hard to lay people off, but it would also just not be socially acceptable to lay them off. So people who are working or employed, but not given work. I have to think that that's got to sting. That's got to hurt. Something like it starts to break, I think, the individual, the self, if they are generally known amongst their peers to not be useful. If I'm an individual that shows up every day to an office and everybody I work with knows, yeah, no, don't give me any work because I'm not useful.
I'm a ghost.
I'm not impactful. Yeah. Well, what does that do to the psyche?
Oh, yeah.
I have to think that that would destroy that which is human. And so I think that this false kindness of trying to avoid this job-apocalypse is terribly misguided. It is kindness. It is evil masquerading as kindness. And so instead, I think that the axe or the send-off, block, let go of 4,000 people is not even a blessing in disguise, but just a blessing, because these people now, I am certain that every single one of those individuals, if they put their hearts and minds to it, with ideally a healthy package that gives them some time to weather the storm and the bumps in the roads and false starts and all that, they'll be able to build something of their own that is highly consequential. They'll be able to build something that is their own. It's the ownership economy now. It is the ownership economy, not the salary economy.
Yeah. Which kind of, leads me to the doomerist in me kind of then goes, well, if every and people, the not who's left over to have like buying power to pay the producers.
Yeah. Couple of things there. I believe that there are folks that talk about this great bifurcation of human society that's coming, the idea of the permanent underclass. I call bullshit on that. I don't believe that that's going to happen. I think that a slight version, like something just not that sinister, not that dark, is going to happen. The tools to, like the mobility, there will be mobility there will be a bifurcation, but I believe there will be mobility, upward mobility. And that's because the same tools that are being used up here will be available down here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe compute starts getting massively expensive. I don't think so. I think that we're going to see compute token cost continue to have massive decreases in cost. We've already seen token deflation over the course of the past year. And I expect that, heck, Elon Musk is putting data centers up in space. That's the whole idea of SpaceX and XAI merging. So when that happens, I think we'll see even further deflation in costs around tokens. Now, maybe somebody gets this massive monopoly. Maybe the argument is there will be 1,000 times more data centers in space than there are on Earth, and so there's an effective monopoly up there. He's not the only individual that's going to be able to put things up into orbit. Over time, there will be others. Others will catch up. So I believe that, yeah, we're going to have healthy competition, and it's going to lead to decreases in token cost as well as compute cost. And so in this underclass, which I believe will be an underclass, there is mobility. Initially, we're going to see a much smaller, kind of highly productive and consumptive, capable of being consumptive class. Down here in the underclass, I'll use that term. One, again, we'll see mobility, upward mobility. But two, I believe that a massive impact on cost of living, or deflationary impact across the board on everything, like the cost of food. We've talked about how I expect that to decrease massively, like a 10x decrease there. The cost of transportation is another big one. The cost of housing, all these things will see massive decrease in your mass market version being very, very affordable, 10 times more affordable. So this underclass, while they may be earning a lot less, maybe there's a degree of government assistance, but I believe that a lot of things will be free or close to free. And so they'll be able to certainly have sustenance, but sustenance isn't enough. We are not here just to sustain. Humans need to grow. I'm thinking back to one of my elementary school science classes defining life, and growth is a part of life. You need to grow if you're going to be alive. And that isn't just physical growth, it's also growth in here. And it's growth in here. And that is eminently possible. That is very affordable. So I think that people will have this pursuit of happiness, pursuit of fulfillment that exists both on both ends of the bifurcated society that's just around the corner.
Yeah, that is and so it's so crazy to think that we'll be alive to be able to witness that and actually be in it. It
Yeah. Yeah.
really blows my mind. I think
A completely
there
different society in our lifetime.
in our lifetime, in our lifetime. Yeah, this would be, the transition from the Stone Age to the Middle Age, and from that to all those different transitions. Our parents and grandparents. Well, I mean, the internet. We got to experience that also,
Yep.
right? But
Yeah, I often talk about how I believe that people who grow up with the internet are a different species from those who did not. I believe that people who are growing up with AI, with agentic AI, will again be a different species almost. People who grew up with AI chatbots, maybe less so, but yeah, when we hit tick, expect that people who grow up and live in that way are almost a different species.
do you think
They're
AGI is
aliens.
here? Do you think this is AGI?
I don't know that AGI, uh, the goal, first of all.
Sure, but in the way that, all the pundits and all the experts talked about AGI a few years ago, and how it's like going to be able to do things for you and know you intimately and be able to, do you think that, the whatever version of what we called AGI just a year, 2 years ago, with the tools available
Well, what
now?
is intelligence? Well, if we're going to try to define artificial general intelligence, I think that we need to, like, it's easy to define artificial, maybe not, but it's less controversial to define
Sure,
artificial.
sure. Yeah.
It's less controversial to define general, like general intelligence, general beauty, general, just
Sure.
general. It's such a
Just broad.
fuzzy term. Yeah. The controversial part of artificial general intelligence is intelligence. Can we define intelligence? And I would say that human society is grossly incapable and just terribly incompetent at the outset of trying to, like, the endeavor of defining intelligence. Because if we were better capable of defining intelligence, we'd have a better school system for K through 12 and heck, even most colleges. So that's my comment on is AGI here. I think that artificial general, like, massive utility is like a version of artificially general massive usefulness is here. The chatbots gave us that because it's search on steroids, supercharged, turbocharged rocket fuel. But really, I think that the way to define the next levels of AI, the end goal isn't artificial general intelligence, in my view. The end goal is recursively improving swarms of agents.
Mm.
Again, going back to that elementary school definition of a partial definition of life, like, you have to grow. If you're not recursively, if the agentic swarm is not recursive in its ability to create new capabilities that are increasingly competent, so breadth and depth. I'm not talking about, like, false confidence in, like, saying, oh yeah, I could hit that baseball. Skiing doesn't matter. I could swing my bat and hit his fastball. Ain't happening. That's a hallucination at best. Flat out lie at worst. Delusionary. That, I think, these two parameters, ability to spin up new skills, learn to swing a bat much better.
Sure.
These two parameters need to exist in these agentic swarms, and then we'll have, heck, maybe that's artificial general.
Yeah.
In which case, I'll answer your question. No, I don't think we're there.
Mm.
Hey, you helped me think through this.
I love that. And it seems like we are a half step or just one step away from getting to that type of a place, because all the ingredients
Yeah,
are already there.
you're right. We're close. And OpenClaw opened a lot of eyes, and OpenClaw validated the demand for that type of use of AI. Generally capable, ability to spin up new skills, ability to a certain extent improve its ability to exercise those skills. But really, fundamentally, it's a fairly simple concept, and it does nothing to solve for true depth of competence. It is grossly hallucinatory. It makes things up. And yeah, it's also insecure, but I think that security is something Like that's a facet that can be solved for. But OpenClaw, what it did do is it naively, or maybe in full disclosure, knew what was going to happen, but it just said, screw the guardrails, let's go full on agentic, and it doesn't matter that it does it perfectly. It just matters that it's able to go from point A to point B, and maybe it invented what point B is. Maybe it took me to Ontario, California instead of Ontario, Canada. Maybe that kind of hallucination happens. But again, it did validate the market. And now we're at this point where, yes, if we do solve, when Vanka solves the idea of precision retrieval in agentic workflows, and then implements the recursive capability in agentic swarms, then we'll have, I believe, artificially, generally intelligent capabilities.
Yeah. I because I really pondered that during this week in working with, just building test projects inside of my OpenClaw instance, which is all plugged in primarily to Sonnet. Every once in a while, I'll deploy Opus because I want to see what the difference is. But
How much have you spent?
Say that again.
How much have you spent?
Oh, I can tell you.
Oh, I am. Did you wake up to a $3,000 bill, or
No,
did you put some guardrails
I
on
did
that?
not. I did not. So this is my Claw clan.
Okay.
Claw clan is made up of Kevin. Kevin is my boss of the Claw, King Claw, and I got him to spin up a bunch of different guys and gals with different functions. Devin, who, just shoots off and spins up Claude Code CLI. But all of this, just this morning, I've only spent 30 cents because I plugged mine in. I'm still one of those naughty boys that plugged mine into Claude OAuth.
Okay.
Because I'm just going to run Claude OAuth because I'm on the 20x max plan. I'm just going to run Claude OAuth into the ground until I get flagged or banned, and then I'll just spin up another one. In the meantime, I'm just doing this only because I opened up. I spun up a dedicated Claude OAuth. It doesn't have any old memory or any stuff like
Yep.
It's not a heavy project. So this is it right here. I've got Open Router as well, but it's built out like SOP, so I remember how I interface with different stuff, plugs into several different API. This just kind of helps me remember which APIs we're using, and some are local, some are paid per use, and some are just out of plan. But its ability to problem solve through and go, hey, Scout isn't doing what Scout's meant to do. And by the way, for each of them, I get to see what gets updated because I get to see the soul and what its identity is, and what its agent's kind of brief is as well, standalone on for each one. It genuinely
What's your favorite
feels,
agent?
definitely Kevin. I mean, I'm just getting Kevin to do all of it.
Your CEO.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Kevin in a lot of ways is my CEO / chief of staff. I just call him King Claw because he's the king of all the other claws.
So Jara Houston and Sam Altman were correct.
Right.
The CEO of the biggest hourly work platform, empowering hourly workers, was absolutely correct about agentic AI coming for CEO jobs first. And this coming from you, the CEO of an agency, the first thing you do with OpenClaw is you spin up a CEO.
Yeah, totally. So I don't get to talk to Scout or Sherlock or Probe or any of this. I just go, they report to you. You give me the high level kind of thing of what's happening, and you farm out the work accordingly. And the reason why I asked the whole, is AGI here? I have experienced instances already in the past week where its problem solving ability genuinely feels like I'm speaking to a human on the other side.
Yeah.
Who's thinking
Did you
through
give it
this.
voice yet?
No, I haven't given it voice
So-
just yet.
I want to go back to a few weeks ago when you were at a conference in, was it Dubai or somewhere in
Dubai,
in
yeah.
the Middle East? So you were there with a bunch of agency CEOs. Ballpark, what's the group of number of agency CEOs that you were discussing OpenClaw with kind of most deeply? Is like 2, 3, 5?
A handful, yeah, just a handful.
Okay. Yeah, so let's call it 5. Estimate the annual revenue, like the ad spend under management for these 5, including you, agencies.
Right. It'll be like 9 figures and up.
Okay. So 9 figures and up, you guys, CEOs of these companies that are generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, come together in Dubai. Every single one of you is into OpenClaw. Jeez. Hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue. The CEOs get together, and what do? They spin up OpenClaw CEOs to run their agencies. This is happening.
Yeah, it's how this is why the whole like me thinking with all the talk about AGI back a few years ago, and I just spun it up really quickly here. AGI is broadly defined as AI that matches or exceeds human cognitive capabilities across diverse domains, enabling it to learn and adapt without specific reprogramming. Unlike narrow AI, ANI, which is limited to specific tasks, AGI is characterized by general reasoning, planning, common sense, and autonomy. So this has like using that as a kind of basis for. By the way, I have a cron job for Kevin to analyze and look through all of the different agents and see where they're not talking to one another well. Kind of report back to me because I don't trust it fully yet. Report back to me and go, here's my plan for. Here's what I noticed. Here's my plan for making it happen. Here's what it is in plain English because I know you're non-technical. What should we do next? Would you like to proceed? Nuts, absolutely nuts that I'm receiving that at 7 a.m. like in the morning for me to then go, yeah, sure, just give it a shot, see what happens. But before you do, just take a snapshot of how it is currently, just so that if we need to roll it back, we can just roll it back without being destructive. So just, Kevin, please make sure that whatever changes we make, it's non-destructive. We can always do a Command Z rollback because we're uploading a snapshot to GitHub, a private GitHub repo every 30 minutes anyway. Right. So just make sure that we kind of can roll back one. And he's like, yeah, sure. Okay, cool. It blows my mind. Just blows my mind. Just again, non-technical, have not been in the tools. This was my kind of gateway in there. Very aware that Claude Code and Claude Cowork, when set up properly on a machine, can do the same. But it's happening everywhere. Like because of Meta's acquisition of Manus AI. Now Manus AI is available for use inside of the Meta Ad Manager. And it can upload ads, it can do all the menial things prior that needed humans to do, and it can perform analysis as well.
Yeah.
Or it's going to get to a place
on your topic about, you mentioned don't do anything destructive. I want to share a tweet from Summer Yu. She runs, what is it that she runs? She runs the Director of Safety and Alignment at Meta's Superintelligence Lab. Director of Safety at Meta's Superintelligence Lab. She shares that nothing humbles you like telling your OpenClaw confirm before acting and then watching it speed run deleting your inbox. So she couldn't stop it from her phone. Like, stop that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No,
stop right here. Stop OpenClaw. And so she had to run to her Mac Mini like she was defusing a bomb.
Yeah, and do the slash kill command. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
I could see her diving in slow motion.
Yeah. It's but I mean, how crazy is that, right? Like the director of safety in AI inside of Meta Labs is jumping onto this kind of side project, completely non-secure thing like OpenClaw. It really is everyone from her to you to, some dude that like knows how to drive traffic to e-commerce stores. The need case is absolutely there. And it genuinely feels like if that definition of AGI, the ability to problem solve and to even help me, so I thought we started this whole thing, and maybe this is a good way to start landing the plane. We started this whole thing with me talking about it, learning how to be a better product. My go-to way to prompt prior to get to those outcomes of those agents, I did not have a PRD or any of those things. I effectively, my experience thus far has been, hey, here is my intended outcome. Here's what I want ultimately to be able to do as a person and get out of building something. I don't know what this thing is just yet, but here are what I think the inputs are. Here's what I think, how I maybe think I would interact with this system. but don't forget, this is what I want to happen, right?
Yeah.
So tell me how you think it should happen and break it down step by step, again, because I'm non-technical, and tell me where certain kind of catches are. And the way certain kind of tripping points are, the way that it comes back, I go, this is
Yeah, I can absolutely
insane.
teach you how to be that product manager.
Yeah, it's dramatically different to a year ago where it's just 12 short months, right?
Yeah.
A year ago, it was, oh, but it's just making up random crap and it's not citing its sources, or even if it found a source, it made up some kind of random story.
Now it's very good at citing sources.
Yeah.
It's still going to hallucinate things, but it's very good at citing sources, or for things where it can be disciplined about finding an external source and then citing it, but it's the other stuff that in between these cited sources that you have to call into question. Hey, before we drop off this podcast episode, I want to dig a little bit deeper. If we could just spend 3 more minutes on this, learning about what you're getting out of your OpenClaw implementation. What are the tangible benefits to you? Like, what is the work product that it's giving you?
Right. So Brandon,
Do you mind sharing it on your screen and just kind of pointing them out?
Yeah, let's do it.
Unless it's too confidential, in which case you could just go through it verbally.
Not at all. So my implementations so far have been the lowest stakes implementations, right? Because again, I'm trying to use this opportunity to figure out how it's insecure, where it's insecure, et cetera, et cetera. So low stakes implementation would be, okay, well, go out and where's Scout? Perform content intel. So go out and follow certain creators across certain disciplines. And
now, did you give it the list of creators, or is it finding 20?
Yeah, so I have a watch list right here. At any one point, I can add a creator, or I can deep dive a creator.
And did you build this dashboard, or is this the vanilla OpenClaw experience?
Claude did it all for me.
Claude built this dashboard for you.
Yeah, Claude built this dashboard for. I mean, I referred to Claude because Claude is King Kevin uses
King
Claude.
Claude built this for you.
Right. So where is it? Yeah. So it can either perform a deep dive, or it can just watch a creator and what they drop each, the posts between the last 3 days, and go, hey, here's the most recent news, or here's the most recent pattern of topics that are popping off. And then it'll give me suggestions. As you can see in here, I've got a shorty, a tubi, and a linky, which would then spit out recommendations for what type of content I could be posting. And that,
so it's giving you, it's searching for content ideas on these platforms by benchmarking a specific group of creators.
Correct. Absolutely. And for different purposes, right? So I've got my D2C stuff, which is obviously for the agency. I've got my management and leadership stuff, which is, just something that I'm personally very passionate about.
Going back, to the content ideas, have you judged the quality of the work product, and how does it compare?
So that's where I'm at right now, right? So it connects to, Kevin has his own Notion. So it just connects to Notion and it spits all of it out in Notion. And I have a feedback section for each of the drafts that they give me. And I go, don't like this, change that, please. And it'll spit out a V2, V3, V4. And V2, V3, V4 all live in one document so that it can learn, because the ultimate final product would go into an examples library so it can continually improve itself. And it can read the V1 to V4, perform a diff to kind of figure out my personal preference as well. But they have to act differently because, for example, the last one in here, which is content around AI and automation or visual AI, like image gen and video gen, these ones right here move a lot faster, right? So they have to kind of watch for news of what's new, what kind of new tools there are, what type of new platforms are out there, what kind of novel ways, just so that I can then kind of get a snapshot.
So this is for you to be on top of developments in AI, which would affect your ability to run a business, which would affect your ability to even improve work product from your human and AI workers.
Yeah, and also, create content about it or bring to our show to go, "Oh,
Yeah.
wow, cool. Okay, well, this thing's happening, that thing's happening, or this person's talking about it. Wait a second, 5 creators are talking about this same thing. D, just don't make sure you notice that as well."
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Dude, that is super insightful. I'd love to talk about how I might be able to help harden some of those for you.
Oh, amazing.
Just yeah, and just exploratory. So happy to chat offline about some of that with you as well. But
That'd be
wonderful.
amazing.
This was a fantastic episode of the Boss Mode podcast. Quick heads up, I don't know if you're going to be available, but Supergirl Reject, she sets up a foldable table on the streets of New York and writes poems for people. She is doing a very human service, writing poetry, human written poetry, not AI written poetry, in person to random people on the streets of New York City. She's going to be joining the Boss Mode podcast next week. I think it's going to be 10 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, which might be a terrible time for you. So if you're not available, she'll be on the show at minimum talking with this half of the Boss Mode podcast host
awesome.
crew. But yeah, happy to share some insights that come out of that with you as well. This was, again, a fantastic episode. D, as always, loved sitting down together with you.
Shoot through that invite anyway. I'll be able to see it on my calendar to know like what time it is locally for me, and then we'll take it from there.
Yep, wonderful. And I lost the controls for here we are, Riverside. Got them back.
Nice.
End of show.